Hey there, folks. Ben Farrell for Benn Farrell Freelance. This is episode 13, and this week we're talking about objectivity. Hey there, Ben Farrell for Benn Farrell Freelance. This week we're talking about objectivity because it's one of the hardest things for a writer to have, but actually one of the easiest things to do. I do have a process to gain objectivity when I'm writing something, and I'm going to go through that process this week. First of all, let's talk about why objectivity is important. Objectivity for a writer will keep you from writing something that only you find interesting or writing something that everybody else might find interesting. From the workshops I used to do and some of the classes I've taken myself, I find a lot of aspiring writers struggle with what to do with their product after it's through the first draft. And by that, I don't mean what to do about marketing. I mean what to do next to make it even better. Now, I've done episodes in the past where I've talked about why my writing when I was aspiring to be a writer has gotten better with age, has gotten better with experience, and has gotten better with my developing process. However, if I have to say there's one reason why what I write today is far better than what I put out 20 years ago, then it has to be objectivity. However, if you're not quite clear what objectivity is as it pertains to your writing or how it applies, we've created an example for you.
What are you doing?
Just a little drawing since it's raining outside.
What did you draw? Can I see? What is it?
It's a dog.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Look at our dog. Now look at what you did. Now look me in the face and tell me that's a dog.
I like it, and I think it's good.
Do you plan on showing it to other people?
Yes.
Then maybe set it aside for a while, come back to it, and see what needs to be different.
Fine.
Wow.
So like I said before, objectivity is one of the hardest things for a writer to have, especially when they're working on a new project. So every new project that I'm working on, I'm always in love with. And you should be in love with what you're writing. If you weren't in love with it, you wouldn't keep working on it. And you should stay in love with it until you can call it done. When your first draft is completed, that's when objectivity has to kick in. Because a lot of writers will make the mistake of being so in love with what they just did, they'll do some mild typographical revisions and then send it out to publishers, send it out to producers, and think what they've sent out is the best thing ever written since The Catcher in the Rye. But then, since they haven't fully post-developed their work, they get turned down, they get declined, they get criticism on what they've turned in, and they take it personally because they are so in love with what they turned in. That's why objectivity is important, because it'll save you from all of that, and I have a 5-step process that I use to help me gain my objectivity once my first draft is done. Okay, so let's get going. Step number 1, finish the draft. And by that, I mean print it out, bind it, put your name on it, put the title on it, and then write first draft on it, so that there's no mistake. This script here is my most recent project, and I'm going to be referring to it a little bit as we go through these steps. So print it out, bind it, first draft on the cover. Make it something that you can touch. It's not in the computer anymore. It's actually born. It's in the world. You can touch it. You can caress it. You can do naughty things to it if you want. It's born. Remember, you've been in love with this for months. Step number 2, and this one's the most important one, let the script sit. Don't touch it. Put it in a drawer. Put it on a shelf, put it next to the coffee maker, just don't touch it. Forget about what you've put in it. Forget about the time you've put in it. It's just now a stack of paper that's aging. Think of it as cheese or a wine. You gotta let it age just a little bit before you start tasting it. Let it sit for at least 2 weeks, longer if you can. So why is that important? Because that's how you gain your objectivity. Think of it as a relationship where you're taking a break. Allow yourself to step away from what you were in love with so much and give yourself some time to just get past it. Start your developing process on a new project while that one continues to age. Then while you've moved on to a new project, give yourself a time to take a break from what you're working on and come back to your previous project, which you're no longer emotionally attached to. The most recent project that I'm working on now, I was so emotionally tied to it. I was emotionally drained. I was so tired by the time I got done with it that there's no way I could look at it for at least a month. It's been a year. I finished first draft last summer. Yeah, it took me a year, but I am 100% confident that I am no longer emotionally attached to such an emotional work, and now I'm ready to do major revisions. So that takes me to step number 3, your major revisions. This is where you look at the material and see what characters are there, what lines are there, and everything that I also covered in episode 11 called color-coded editing. This is where you're looking for major plot points. This is where you're looking for major characters that maybe they don't even serve a purpose anymore. This is where you look at scenes and chapters of what you've written. The point is, now you have objectivity and you can go in and look at it as not something that you wrote for yourself, but now you're looking to change it into something that you're writing for other people to get and understand and affect them in the same way it affected you. But it's not about you anymore. It's about translating what you've done to them. I take all those changes that I made on my first draft copy and I plug it into the laptop, and now I have a new draft. So then I print out that draft because now it's born. It's no longer on the laptop. It's out there and you're just trying to raise it right. So now that you've printed out what could be your 3rd, 4th, or even 5th draft, keep scrutinizing. Go through steps 2 and 3 over and over again until you're confident, you're very confident it's ready for people to enjoy. Don't send it out just yet because step 4 is probably your most fun step. I invite friends over to do a table reading of my stage play, and I used to do that for my screenplays. Now, if you're writing a book, obviously you can't throw a party and have all your friends read what you've written in one sitting. So, throw a party, but put copies of your manuscripts in their hands, and then promise them you will throw another party where you all come back and talk about it. Kind of like a one-book book club. Now, if you do write stage plays or screenplays, have that party. Offer snacks, offer booze, make it about fellowship and celebrating. Hey, look what I did. I would like your guys' opinion on it. But don't just have them read it. Have them read it out loud. That is the key in this process. You need to hear your work out loud. Because sometimes, even when you read it out loud to yourself, you don't pick up on things until you hear somebody else read it. You know how the line is supposed to be delivered. You know how the description is supposed to go. They don't. So if you didn't describe it well enough and they get confused reading it, then you're going to know. So assign them characters. Let them read the play as if it's actually a staged reading. Have somebody read the stage directions or the exhibitions of the screenplay. And then when you're all done, ask for their feedback and actually listen. And it's not going to hurt. Why? Because you have objectivity now. You're crafting the last of your play now. You've already put your heart into it. Your heart's already been pulled away from it and moved on to something else. It's almost like talking about an ex-girlfriend who you were in love with at the time, but now all your friends suddenly open up about why they hate her because you guys broke up. Take their feedback seriously. Actually write it down in a notebook and keep it for when you move on to step 5. Step 5, I call polishing, and that's basically putting the icing on the cake. You've had your table reading, you've gone through rounds of revisions with yourself, and now you have clear feedback from people who were never emotionally attached to the material, and now you're not emotionally attached to material that you can make appropriate changes. Take all those final changes, all your final notes, plug them into your play, print it out again, and the satisfaction that you feel when you write final draft on that cover, it's very few things in my life has ever equaled to it. At that point, you will have the confidence that you are ready to show it to strangers, producers, agents, whoever, who are going to make their own changes anyway. So keep that in mind as well. But when they do, you're still not emotionally attached to it because you took the time to gain objectivity. So that's my 5-step process. And remember, objectivity is key from doing the first draft for you, but all other drafts are going to be for them. And that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. This is Ben Farrell for Benn Farrell Freelance. Thanks for hanging out with me. Hey there, folks. As promised, we have a new contest period for the next 2 months. For this contest, what I'd like you to do is write a 3-sentence story to go along with the photo that I'm about to show you.
And this photo is really weird.
Okay, so send in your 3-sentence story to go along with that picture, and all the entries will be put into a raffle, and if your name is drawn in that raffle, you'll get a free copy of one of my stage plays. Which stage play are we going to offer this time?
Deadly Intentions.
Deadly Intentions. It's the only musical I've ever written. It's actually very funny, and if you want to learn a little bit more about it, where can they go?
BennFarrellWriter.com.
BennFarrellWriter.com. So that's it. Go ahead and get those entries in. I appreciate you hanging out with us. This is Ben Farrell for Benn Farrell Freelance.
And stay safe and keep watching our videos.
Keep watching those videos.
Bye.